Reasoning this out. You know, we're pretty much spending all morning on this. This is fundamentally, centrally, absolutely, astoundingly important for interpretation involving rates of change. Okay, this process, the rise represents what? The change in the vertical coordinate so rise represents change in the rate of change. Of y with respect to t. Okay? Now, my vertical axis is therefore not y. Why do I say this can't be the y-axis? It's because of what A and B represent. What do A and B represent?
The change.
Rates of change of y with respect to t.
Mm-hmm.
That's not y, is it?
No.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's something you got to get your head around. Again, that's something needs a little incubation. So, we have to understand this is not the y-axis. What this axis represents is determined by what A and B represent. Okay? Okay, there's a notation we'll use for that, but we'll hold off on that for a minute. Okay, so the rise represents this. The run represents what?
It represents the change in horizontal.
In what?
It represents the change in horizontal coordinates.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. And what's the horizontal coordinate?
T, which is time.
Okay. So the slope represents I don't have an abundant amount of room here. I'm going to say the change in the rate of change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the change in y, is it?
No.
Because A and B don't represent y values. They represent rates of change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's the change in the rate of change divided by what? Change in time, right? And that's the rate of change of what? This is a rate of change, isn't it? It's a change in one quantity divided by a change in another, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the rate of change of what with respect to what? What's the A quantity and what's the B quantity?
Rate of change in time.
Okay, the A quantity is the rate of change, right?
Yeah.
But it's the rate of change of y with respect to t, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have room to write rate of change of y with respect to t. And when you write this out, you really need to. You don't want to leave out words, you don't want to leave out details, because, again, to overuse the word, you're in your incubation period with this thing, right? You're just beginning your incubation period. You better have everything right at the beginning, okay? You better write it out correctly and precisely so that you can ponder what it means without going off in the wrong direction. And inevitably, sometimes you're going to do that, but you want to be as careful as possible. So it's the rate of change of the A quantity is the rate of change so it's the rate of change of the rate of change. Okay? It's a rate of change of a rate of change. That make sense?
Yeah.
It's the rate at which the rate is changing. Okay, a rate can change. So rate can have a rate of change, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this means that no matter what A and B represent, the slope is going to represent an average rate of change of that thing with respect to whatever this thing is, right? Always. Now, usually that makes sense. Okay? The area represents what? It represents whatever you get from the change in this quantity multiplied by the average value of this quantity.
Yeah.
Now, multiplying a change in one quantity by an average value of another doesn't necessarily give you anything that has a significant meaning. We'll talk about that, and you'll see that from some examples that we'll look at starting tomorrow. Okay?